So I'm with Chris, and Phil and I and Monty have been talking about Chris's idea, which was to have a field of different bird seeds that we can actually develop and grow through Wigglers, because we're buying a lot of them in from other people. And whilst we're trying to buy British, it's not necessarily regen, and we think we can do it, but we hadn't got the knowledge. So Chris, can you explain to us what your thinking was and how we might be able to go ahead with this?
Yeah, sure. So we had probably about 10 or 12 on the list of products we'd like to grow, to go through the shop, and really we sort of whittled that down this morning to sort of 5 or 6 to try. So some of the ones, as you mentioned, that we know then they'd be British, they're grown in a specific way. Really nice to sort of demonstrate to anyone that was in the local area. So we've sort of boiled it down to canary seed, linseed, millet and buckwheat. And then what we're looking in amongst there is being able to sort of bicrop some of it. So we'd have...
And sunflowers.
And some sunflowers, yeah. I was going to come on to that one.
Yeah, okay. Carry on.
So we... if we could bicrop some of them, it would mean the two are growing in tandem. They'd sort of benefit each other, could be hopefully harvested at the same time then, and not necessarily have to be split for the market. So they'd be ready to go into the birdseed as a blend, bringing sort of benefits. And really the field we've picked is one that is in need of a bit of improvement. Felt that these crops that we could rotate over a sort of 4 or 5 year period would help to improve the soil structure, the fertility in the field, and bring improvements to the farm business as well as to Wiggly's.
And it's the soil that we've got a soil high in magnesium, haven't we? So have you picked crops that will help that, or are you adding, is there nitrogen fixing, or what's the actual thought on it?
Yeah, so a few of them we have discussed are ones that don't do well with a high amount of free calcium. So things like lupins we discussed this morning, but not that good for the sort of bird feed market. But we've tried to pick things that would go well with the soil type as it currently stands, but hopefully would bring improvements over a few years as well. We've talked a lot about companion cropping with vetches, clovers, etc. that would help bring nitrogen to the other plants that are growing. Buckwheat, for instance, is really good at mineralising phosphate that would otherwise be locked up in the soil. So,
that's interesting.
So
does that mean we can use less fertiliser and less chemical?
Yeah, it'd be a lot. We've again, it's something we've done a lot of thinking about here, and one of the reasons about the rotation is that we hope that what one crop leaves behind is beneficial for the other. So sort of mapping it out over a period of time where the preceding crop is helping the following crop, whether that's with weed control or fertility building. We've talked about sort of an overwinter cover crop, because all of these would be spring sown, so something that's going to help sort of clean up the field, mop up any of that nitrogen, so that we're not sort of favouring nitrogen loving weeds that are very competitive.
One of our biggest benefits when we're feeding birds is with sunflowers, and I just imagined that we would have this beautiful field of sunflowers, and you've come this morning and sort of put the tin hat on it. Why is that, Chris? So is it because we'd have to harvest it too late, or is it disease, or what's the problem?
Yeah, I think the varieties we've got access to in the UK are predominantly quite late, and they're not used to sort of, depends what season we get, but generally sort of colder, more cloudy, mild conditions compared to sort of elsewhere where sunflowers are traditionally grown.
Like the south of France?
Yeah, or the south coast of England is probably about as far as they come. So, I mean, sunflowers always look fantastic in game cover, but I think Phil has said he doesn't want to be harvesting on Christmas Day, which is a high possibility. So we would like to try sunflowers, get a bit of a gauge of where they're at, but it would be
too risky.
Probably a case of last season would have been fantastic. 3 seasons ago, very high risk, disease pressure, ridiculously high, and
because this whole thing, we're looking at, I think, 30 acres. That is a significant field size for us.
yeah, definitely.
So there is a risk, but there's a risk with everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
What's your feeling about the level of risk versus reward that we're attempting?
I think we've been sensible with the list we've sort of come to. A lot of them, very comfortably sort of grown as commercial crops.
Yeah.
Probably the buckwheat is one of the most risky that we've got here. We're very sort of frost sensitive. So if we got a late frost in sort of May, they will be gone. It doesn't really need to even been a frost, just cold nighttime conditions. It would self-destruct. So.
And you've shown me the linseed trial that you did elsewhere. You comfortable with that?
Yeah, linseed, very commercially grown, very well known. Sort of how we can manage that one. The canary seed, a little bit more niche really, but happy we can have a go. Innovative farming, and with commodity prices the way they are at the moment, it's sort of. That's risky in itself, really.
Yeah.
So.
And your job for us, you'll come and advise us on when to plant, what to plant. How does it work?
Yeah, so it'd be a sort of bit of a roadmap really to say, perhaps soil conditions are ready for this type of crop. When it reaches, let's say 12 degrees for argument's sake, we could put in one of them.
That's when you sit with your bum on the soil, isn't it?
Yes,
and
yeah.
I've seen that. You don't do that, do you, Chris?
No, I've got a thermometer these days, yes.
That's good. Yeah, makes sense.
And we would sort of map it out then to say if it goes in at this date, it's likely to be sort of 120 days growing season, for instance. These are the pest weed diseases we might come across. Try and manage them down to as minimal risk as we can. Map it out, make sure it's sort of sensible, and we'd maybe have that thought process of if the conditions aren't right when this crop was to go in, we might look at sort of changing it for something else. So
Got ya.
I think it wouldn't be hard and fast. It would just be a case of that's one reason it's nice to sort of spread the risk amongst 4 or 5, 6 different crops.
And the rotation in the future. So this will be basically, as I understand it, our birdseed field.
Yep.
And then you'll design the rotation across those areas in the field rather than separate fields.
Yeah, that's right. So there's nice synergy in there, in that we can manage sort of weed, pest, disease burdens over a couple of years' time. Hopefully one of them will be leaving, say, nitrogen behind that the next one would mop up. So I think leaving it in one field, we get to manage the sort of weed, disease pressures a lot better, and we can have a nice sort of mini rotation in a field that brings sort of synergies over time. And as you mentioned, it's a great way of us improving a field that has been quite challenging for you for quite a while now, I believe.
Yeah, it's stony, so I think all these crops won't be so low to harvest as peas.
No, they've all got decent sort of amount of height to them, good standing ability, and probably all would favour sort of free draining soil really more than something that's going to sit wet really.
And then lastly, will you come and check them, and how often does that work for you and for us?
Yeah, so generally might be a little bit different when they're sort of just emerging and at that really critical stage, but yeah, generally it's sort of once a fortnight on a sort of round, and usually here on a Wednesday, which is nice. I know where I stand, and you know where to expect me, and so generally a sort of fortnightly visit. Say at those critical times, probably a slightly more regular, but and it's just trying to manage everything then as to what needs to be done before I'm here again, what to look out for.
Well, thanks, Chris, because you've inspired a change in us. You're supporting us on our regen journey, which is not smooth, I might add. It's very up and down. It must be quite rewarding for you to see the improvements that we're already making. I mean, I'm not going to put words into your mouth, but we feel our soil is coming, and we definitely feel we've established our crops better this year. What's your thinking on it?
Yeah, I think probably the back of my Nuffield, which we just discussed, was a case of a lot of what came out of that was earning the right to a certain degree. I could map something out that I basically knew would fail, and a lot of people I think that go into regen and say it's not worked. I think unfortunately that's perhaps the roadmap that's been there has not been quite right for that business for whatever reason. And I think knowing how to get failure gives you a path to know which way to tread to liken the success of it over a period of time. And I think earning the right is something I definitely sort of always refer back to. And for me, very, very, what's the word? It's very rewarding. I think it's what gets me out of bed in the morning, the innovative side, and being able to sort of help people on a journey that hopefully means they're more sustainable, both financially and environmentally going forward. I think that's very important.
Yeah, and how do you think we're doing?
Very good, I think, yeah.
Really? Have I made you say that? It is tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a tremendous amount of rainfall the last couple of months, and probably things are sitting slightly wetter than we would have liked, but in good conditions. Hopefully the root systems are there, and I think the weather's always going to be what it will be. And I think the beauty to me about regenerative farming is that it builds a level of resilience into a farm business that can sort of weather some of these storms a little bit better, if you like, for no pun intended. But it's some of the crops I used to manage were so high input that if you had a bad season, that they just didn't stack up. It was a real loss-making exercise, and I think being able to reduce your inputs is a great way of building resilience in where you're not sort of relying on that income coming back in necessarily to pay for the bills that have already gone out, if that makes sense. It's a nicer way of farming.
Well, I definitely think we'll be lowering our inputs again this year significantly, so
Fingers
crossed. Thanks, Chris.
No problem, thank you.